We got the world's worst Christmas present from the minister. C-suite executives can't stay in Canada anymore. They basically were worried about fraud in their own program. That's your fault. The Caregiver program.
Yes.
Will it ever come back? What do you think?
Happy New Year, everyone!
Oh, and what a year it has been already. We're only a week in. The Prime Minister's resigned. We have a prorogation of Parliament. And we're looking at an election coming around the corner. So I think we should start by trying to predict what's going to happen in this very tumultuous year where immigration is going to be the #1 issue. Let's start with arranged employment. We got the world's worst Christmas present from the minister around this issue. So kind of tell us what happened with arranged employment and what do you think is going to happen?
With arranged employment, the government around Christmas time, as Aadil said, basically said in the spring of 2025, they will no longer allow people to get extra points for arranged employment for express entry. That means people who have LMIA-based work permits or other employer-specific work permits will no longer have that advantage of getting the extra 50 points or even 200 points for express entry.
Yeah, the C-suite executives can't stay in Canada anymore.
Yeah, and also all of those people who are professionals. This is a very, very odd sort of situation that the government is putting businesses and workers in, because the LMIA and employer-specific work permits, these are the work permits that have been tested against the economic benefits test. And all of these work permits are issued to people who have been recognized by the government to be of economic benefit to Canada.
And not Immigration Service Canada is the one that issues
the
these.
Labor Department, yeah. If the most valuable workers are no longer able to get permanent residence, who are we letting stay in Canada? Very few people in the end.
The justification was also ridiculous, where they basically were worried about fraud in their own program. That's your fault if there's fraud in the program. Fix the fraud.
Don't cancel the program.
Do we actually think it's going to go through? What's your prediction on it? It's just so short-sighted. I don't know.
I'm very hopeful that if there is the election before they can actually implement this, that the next minister will take a look at this and hopefully realize that this is an erroneous step to go.
Yeah, I think this was so out of left field and makes absolutely no sense. And businesses are going to scream so much about this that I don't think any other minister would have even put this forward. Any party that comes to power, I think that they'll drop this real quick.
Here's hoping for sure.
The other one I want to talk about is one that's very near and dear to my heart, the Caregiver program.
Yes.
Will it ever come back? What do you think?
Well, this is a program that is so important to families in Canada. We need people. We're going to work. We need someone to take care of our kids. We need someone to take care of our elderly parents and disabled family members. And the Liberal government has just been dismal in providing a caregiver system that actually works, and now they've basically canceled that program. They said that they were supposed to implement it in fall of last year, and to date, there hasn't been a program yet. I know the NDP is pushing for this to be implemented. I don't think this is a controversial program that should be for any party to say that they should implement it. If the Liberals were smart, they should be releasing this program before the election, I think.
Yeah, I think that this is a vote winner no matter where. There's certain groups and populations that are really looking for this program. That will vote around it. And as you said, anyone who's got kids or elderly parents, this is a voting issue program. So my prediction is that they will finally release the Caregiver program.
Yeah.
Hopefully this one works. The last 3 have not because of processing times. Another one in terms of families is parental sponsorships. This one made me really sad. The minister just announced that they weren't going to do a draw, so I guess it's not really a prediction. Do you think one of the other parties might bring it back if they come to power?
Well, I think NDP, they've always prioritized parental sponsorship as one of their keystones, but the Conservatives certainly have not been fans of the parent sponsorship program. I think the last cancellation was with the Conservatives.
They're the ones that killed the old parental sponsorship program. Yeah. So I don't think that's coming back if they come to power. Let's talk a little bit about work permits. We had a lot of work permit changes kind of at the end of the year last year. Where do we think each party is kind of going on the work permit train and bringing in more temporary people?
Canada doesn't work if we don't have skilled labor in Canada. You know, in the US, even the Republicans have a debate as to whether or not they need skilled workers.
Yeah, the H-1B visa debate.
The H-1B visa debate. And in Canada, we rely so much on the temporary foreign worker program. People can say, oh, we should train Canadians. There's only so much time you have to train people, and there's only so much resources you have to train people for such essential positions. There are many positions that Canadians just won't do. There are many positions that Canadians can't do. And the fact of the matter is that immigrants and workers are also consumers. When we have people in our cities, in our towns, they prop up the economy. And to that effect, I think the programs that go with regionalization, where they are attracting people to go to smaller rural towns, smaller cities, I think that is a political win for any party. And I certainly think that things like the RCIP program, the Rural Community Immigrant Program, where they're going, an Atlantic Immigration Program, and I think more programs which allow cities, towns to select people for permanent residence, I think that's certainly going to still be in place and probably be propped up even more under any government.
Yeah, so I think you kind of had two predictions in there. The first one, I think, is as we lower permanent residency numbers, we see the shift all the time where all of a sudden we have an up in temporary residency numbers.
Yeah.
And basically, we need people. So if we're not going to give them permanent status, we're going to bring them in on temporary status. We saw that under the Harper government for years and years. That was the trend. I think the Liberals are now going that way also. So I tend to agree. And I think the second one is regionalization. We've seen this kind of happening over the last 5 years, this big move to try to make towns have their own little mini immigration programs, provinces have their own programs, and there's really kind of been a shift to regionalization.
What a lot of governments tend to realize and then they forget is that we are in a race in this world for the talent in this world. And if they don't provide permanent residence programs for people, who is going to want to spend years of their life in this country? That is something that I hope the Conservatives or the Liberals, whoever is going to win the next election, actually thinks about. We are a fantastic country, but we're not the only country in this world. We're certainly not the country that has the best weather, and so it is something that they have to realize that we're in competition. And one of the main reasons why Canada had been so successful before was we had a very good permanent residence program. And if you don't want people to stay in the country, you may not get them to come into the country.
Another prediction that I have that's very near and dear to my heart, I think things are going to get really hard for refugees, and I think enforcement is going to increase. I feel that there's been a major Trumpian shift in how we look at refugees. They've always been a major and important part of Canada. The end of the year, we saw the closing of the Group of Five program, where I thought it was a great program. It's, community members getting together and supporting refugees coming to Canada. And lots of great people really contributed to that program, and now they can't even sponsor a refugee. And I also think that the Conservatives have traditionally been very difficult on them. Remember the years where they called them false refugees or false claimants. I'm very scared that we're going to go back to those days. The Liberals have been much harder on refugees recently, and I do think that they're going to start enforcement to try to get people out of the country, and that's one of the fears that I have, that we're moving in a much more negative direction towards them.
Yes, I think litigation is certainly going to be up, not only for refugees, but for a lot of people whose applications are just unfairly being decided right now. We're seeing a lot of crazy decisions being made by visa posts, by officers, and litigation is going to be one of the key tools by applicants and lawyers to help our clients.
I expect to be in court a lot this year. Well, those are our predictions for the year. I think whether they come true or not, the one I can guarantee you will be true is that immigration is going to be a top issue this year, and it's going to be changing constantly. So stay tuned with our information. We're going to try to tell you all the changes as they come through.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.